Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Simon Clifford. I'm here to talk to you about deriving insight from data. Great speech just now. Mine's a bit more rough and ready. I hope you like it. Just to give you a bit of background for myself, I'm 20 years into the tech industry. Prior to Internet, I was doing decision support. So that was really connecting to large data sets within the corporate space and trying to drive insight through that. So I've been looking at large data sets for a long time and helping organizations really deliver against that. Yep, sorry. So I've been in the industry 20 odd years. Prior to doing analytics and big data stuff, in the 90s I was working around decision support, management information systems at corporate level, trying to take global data capture and derive insight very specifically to the corporate space. Since then, obviously analytics was of the mode in the noughties, and again driving sort of corporate intelligence through that. And more recently, I'm doing large, big data set insight work. But before I really get on to how we derive insight, I want to sort of paint a context in terms of this. So yeah, the automotive industry is just one of many industries, but ultimately there was a time in the last century where there were rules, and industry played along these rules that it basically measured itself against its competitors and decided, based on either volumes or gross profit, who was successful. I.e., somebody made the best product that year, and they won. And every year it was about redefining what was the right solution. However, towards the tail end of the 20th century, that changed, due in part to Howard Moscovich, who was involved in the food sector, where he helped drive insight into looking at the client base in a different way, rather than saying, asking your customer what it is they wanted. He basically started to take apart the product sets and really interrogate the data in a completely different way, looking at every possible variable that the customer could consider would be a distinction. And he particularly, one of his early projects after getting his PhD was working with the food sector, where there was rife competition in the spaghetti sauce market. I don't know if people have seen this TED talk by Malcolm Gladwell. And basically what they did is they broke down the spaghetti sauce into 60 different variables. And rather than taking just trying a bunch of different recipes on people of what they considered quality spaghetti sauce, they tried every possible variation. And then they analyzed that data. And they found that actually, this is paraphrasing a very long, very worthwhile TED talk that I recommend you see, that there were clusters of likes and dislikes. Rather than you liked spaghetti sauce of this taste or this taste, actually there was half a dozen different versions. And his mission was to actually tell people that there is no such thing as the right spaghetti sauce, but right spaghetti sauces. And from this, and this made a significant change within the corporate space, that food production was fundamentally changed, so that rather than having the right product, choice was introduced. So now, even in the chocolate market, you have different sizes, you have different scales, you have different nuances, and Starbucks is a perfect example of every different version of coffee, from very, very milky to very, very strong, and everything in between. This is a fundamental change from this is the right product for this consumer. But what's in parallel to what was happening in the corporate space in terms of how people were looking at the marketplace, there was the growth in capturing increased levels of performance data. So corporate space was looking at measuring everything to see where the blockages were, what was stopping flow and productivity. Equally, this was at the same time as the computer revolution and Moore's law in the growth and capacity of computers to capture that and communicate that information. And the exponential growth of the computer data capture is such now that it's estimated that 80% of all the data in the world today was captured in the last 2 years. And this is still very early days in this growth curve. So in terms of big data, what this actually means is almost all data sets will be big data within a fraction of years, because simply put, we're connecting the data so much more now, and we're collecting so much more data that we have to develop very strong insight techniques to really drive the value through. Here's an example. We know these products, but these types of technologies that are coming along today. Google Glass is going to be released this year, what follows from that is life logging, where literally you're taking photographs every X number of seconds during the course of the day. So if you forget where you put your wallet or your jacket, you can just rewind your life log and see where you physically put it. But that data, like our email accounts, where we used to delete it or maybe even archive it, with cloud-based email now, we don't delete anything. The storage is going up forever, and we just leave it there. Maybe it'll come in useful for one day. And you know, if you're in this space and you like your cloud technologies, I use Evernote. I do lots of bookmarking, capturing lots of data that I think, well, I can't be bothered to read it now. I'll maybe read the headlines, but I'll be able to data mine it later. So when I do a search for something, it'll be there. So I'm collecting enormous amounts. I'm creating this tail of data around me, as we all are. Genomics is another area that is absolutely exploding. It's a separate industry, but the data it produces is profound. And the technologies that will be developed to be able to interrogate that will fundamentally change the scale of data that we can actually interrogate. So what does all this mean? Manufacturing has changed, marketing has changed, the world is a different place. Ultimately, the social media revolution isn't just about connecting to our long-lost friends. It changes the relationship with brands and products. So there was a time when marketing was king. Ultimately, one born every minute. As long as we can get you to buy a product now, maybe you'll like it and come back, but if not, there's another idiot that we can sell it to. But now, early adopters can buy that product and they think, no, I was ripped off, I'm going to tell the world, and that can get traction very, very quickly. So that's fundamentally changed the relationship with enterprise. And there's a recognition of this. So everybody has a voice now. And data is king, rather than marketing is king. Spread the love. This is a love stone. The fact is, corporates need us to believe that they care about us now. Because whilst the corporate world is big, it's interconnected, and we're becoming better informed. So what has changed? One-to-one selling, ultimately, is where we are now. Brands need to engage with us at a level where it feels like they're responding to us, our age group, our demographic, our geography. It's not okay just to say this is a great product and sell it in a particular style. It's about you can't just have a UK campaign. You really need to personalize if you want to get some brand loyalty these days. And examples of this, excuse me, include what's happening in hospitality. In hospitality, what we have is you have the large corporate brands moving forward as they always have in terms of maintaining their core brand beliefs and maintaining and delivering what they believe is the right standard for a particular client set, whether it's the budget, hospitality, intermediary, or top end. But then you have this disruptive technology like Airbnb that changes the paradigm, that comes along and says, actually, we're going to engage with you via your social connections. So this leads you to the 6 degrees of separation, that ultimately we're all connected, and with social media you can actually see those connections. So now, where you can have a long-established brand of 100 years, say, you can trust us, your father, your grandfather have stayed in our hotels, you can have somebody offering a room to rent, and they know somebody you know who says they're all right. Which do you have greater value in? So 50 Shades of Grey. Not the book, but the concept is critical here. And obviously, this is a self-fulfilling cycle, that as you capture the data, you derive insight, you test a hypothesis based on that insight, creating more data, and this is going to continue and grow. As Tom Sanderson said, if you want to have a good idea, have lots of them. He would love the current place we are now, simply by virtue of the fact that the amount of data that we can collect now means that we can drive insight that we would otherwise never be able to capture. And cloud compute is another parallel technology that's come along at the right time, that cloud computing has for a long time been trying to get people just to move because of cost efficiencies, etc. But it is now the standard disruptive platform of choice. So if you discover a new way to change the marketplace, you go cloud compute, because you can do it small and you can scale fast. So what does it all mean? How do you get rapport with your consumers? How do you get that aha moment, that insight moment? And less is not more. It's about communicating enough. I don't know how many people are familiar with this book of Freakonomics. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. Just paraphrase the whole book. It's people respond to incentives, but it's about understanding those incentives. Big data gives us the greatest opportunity to really understand people's motivations, because if you actually put people in a room and you test them, the results will be different if they don't know they're being tested. So big data shows you the evidence of their actions. Okay. Because this is some visualizations now. So here's one of the visualizations I think is a fantastic visualization and profound. It's the $1 billion-ogram. I don't know how many people are familiar with this. And what it does is it represents spending in billions relative to each other. Okay. So that's a very simple insight tool. So what it has is simple squares. The bigger the square, the more billions, and it's all relative. So that's a single layer of content. You immediately capture the insight. Alternatively, you have the dashboard model, which is much more dynamic. It allows you to drill down and capture the insight that way. With data-driven insight, you can change the rules. Where you change the rules historically, you have a better chance of winning. It's the Kobayashi Maru test for those sad trekkers out there, which I'm one. If it's a fair fight with David and Goliath, David would lose, but the disruptive technology is the sling. This is what big data enables. Now, from my perspective, understanding how to develop rapport with big data and visualization, it's very much an emerging space, and it takes a whole range of different skills to really apply well. Psychology is certainly part of it. NLP, by Noam Chomsky, another part of it. And I very much believe you need to draw all these disciplines into one's thinking when defining good visualization. Because as a society, we're all time poor. And ultimately, there's lots of things trying to capture our attention. So we've got to be really clever about creating visualizations to get that hook. Because a powerful visualization is a profound thing. It's I don't want to over-egg it, but it can be life-changing. It can fundamentally change your view of the world through a deep insight, such that you can take that forward and communicate that outwards. And certainly again, Malcolm Gladwell talks about the 6 degrees of separation, how if you look more deep, if you take that premise that that there's 6 connections between me and anybody else on the planet, if you actually look at the study that we paraphrase when saying 6 degrees of separation, it's not actually that there's 6 evenly distributed connections between me and Barack Obama or anybody else. It's the fact is there are different types of people within that chain, and they're all critical. And from big data's perspective, it allows us to connect to the really important ones. Understanding that there are connectors, people that are very well connected, that there are mavens that are authority figures, and salesmen, people that will convince people and compel people, is part of the data insight that can be arrived at. This is a visualization about breast cancer, links below. This, I think, is a profound tool. It's available online. It's provided by GE. And what it does is it gives you a live view of the Twitterverse talking about breast cancer. So I can actually bring that up here. If you will forgive me. So this is live. Okay. So this is a live conversation about breast cancer right now. What's important about this, and this is looking at global conversation in real time. It can segment it into key topics of conversations, stories that are being shared, and the people that matter. So if you want to find who these connectors and the mavens are, big data and tools like this, there's a very similar tool coming out of Microsoft Research right now, enables you to find those individuals who you want to engage with. So yeah. And the articles that they're responding to, etc. Here's another visualization. This is cleaned up data of all the gun deaths in America. During 2010, it's been updated to 2013. So we've got a big number. There's an impact there. But then you can find what's relevant to you. If you have children, you can look for how many children were killed during that time. In this, it breaks down how many are mass killings, etc. How many people of a certain age, so you can find your age. And so, well, if there, but the grace of God go I, because you can connect to that information. And that is one of the greatest values of data visualization. It allows you to have a profound connection with the data that a table just won't show. And the more layers that you can create of data, so you get your standard data and you create a graphic on top of that, that's good. But you create another layer, for instance, geographical data, so you can plot it on a map, that's even better. But the greater the layers, the more relevance it can provide, and especially if you can interrogate it. And again, going back to the NLP, the actual action of going in and finding your insight rather than it being presented to you personalizes it to us. One of the failings of what is a new industry of data visualization is the reality that once you get your hands on some data visualization tools, it's very easy to make some very pretty looking visualizations. If you produce too many visualizations, then ultimately you detract from the impact that you're getting. So it's very important to go to the end of the process at the beginning and say, ultimately, what do we believe is the insight that will actually capture? What are we trying to communicate here? And once you've got to that point, stop. Allow people to personalize it. Anything that allows them to personalize it more is good, but then don't slice it and dice it in 200 different ways. Get the best way and cleanest way to display it. And this is a very new technology. It's really about trying it, testing it, getting the feedback, and trying again. In the words of Steve Jobs, stay hungry, stay foolish. You know, the people that want to, that believe they can change the world, actually do. That's it. Thank you very much.